Guys, at the Smith Center, this is their new parking structure. Gonna be checking out Jesus Christ Superstar. All right. Well, all right, guys, here is how my night went. So, first of all, I didn't know that there wasn't going to be any intermission. It's just straight through, which wouldn't have been that bad, but I also didn't know that there was going to be no dialogue, that this is just straight through singing. And the music was fantastic, but that creates a problem because I also didn't know what type of angle this play was going to take in saying Jesus Christ Superstar. So I wasn't too sure of any of those things. Now, when you add all of that up, there's no dialogue, it's all singing, and you're not too familiar with the story, it is extremely hard to navigate what's going on. And I found myself drowning, trying to catch up. I felt like I was in quicksand from the start all the way to the ending. Yeah, so let's be real about something. If you don't prepare yourself before going into this play, you're going to miss a lot. For example, when I saw Hamilton, I really wish that I would have listened to the soundtrack before going in because then you could actually get into it and follow it. Here is the same thing. The music was so great, and I know great things are being said in the lyrics, and I didn't catch all of it. I caught some of it, but not all of it. And in a play where there's no dialogue and there's only music driving all of the action, you have to know what's coming. But in saying that, the singers were fantastic. If I had to rate them in this play that I saw, I would say Judas was probably the best, followed by Pontus, Mary, and then Jesus. And the choreography was great. Now, you're not going to get epic changes in scenery. It's just one stage set. You're not going to have fancy costumes, but the music makes up for all of that. So this is a rock opera by Andrew Lloyd Webber, and it did not disappoint. They lit it just like a rock concert. They had those super strong laser beam spotlights flying all over the place and highlighting different areas, and it felt like you were in a rock concert, which I appreciated. The lighting that I was most impressed with was at the ending when they were going to crucify Jesus, which is it's kind of a funny thing when you think about it, because the stage, the runway that they walk onto is a cross, and then the crucifix, which is built out of like a mic stand, and I think I saw like a monitor stand. It pops up out of that stage, and kind of like in Wicked when Elphaba was kind of flying at the ending of Act One, and they lit her super strong like with a backlight. The same thing happened here. So when he got propped up, there was a light that just pounded him from the back, and then with all the smoke coming up, it projected this big crucifix with the image of him on top of it through the entire theater, and it was breathtaking. Another key thing about this play is that it is being explained to you through the eyes of Judas, which for most Christians and Catholics, I would think, is not something that you would think would happen. Is, hey, here's the Bible through somebody else's eyes. And it's interesting throughout the whole play hearing Judas just kind of tee off on Jesus. I remember one part he was saying, how can we follow you when you're basically dating a prostitute? I was like, oh, this is getting real between, and they're always kind of fighting throughout the entire play. At one time, they kind of make up, and then they start fighting. But you have that relationship between Judas and Jesus that you can see throughout the entire play. And for those that don't know, Judas is the one that betrayed Jesus, and basically that betrayal ended up having Jesus Christ crucified. So that's the interesting viewpoint on that. All right, the two scenes that I remember the most, the first one being the entrance of King Herod, which this character reminded me a lot of King George from Hamilton, just super flamboyant. When this guy walked down the stage, remember the stage is in the shape of a cross, so there's a super long runway as it got to the cross section, and his gown was as long as the runway. He had a mask on, he was super drag queenish like, and it reminded me a lot of King George from Hamilton. So that entrance was spectacular. And then the second scene is when Christ was getting his lashes right before he was crucified. Instead of using an actual whip for the lashings or like a stick, they decided to use glitter. So people were running up to him and just straight glitter bombing him, and it was like whoosh, whoosh. And it looked kind of weird at first, but when you realize what they were forming, like the guy that was playing Jesus, his body was just covered with gold glitter, so that by the time they got him on the crucifix, it framed that image in your brain so well with that backlighting. So should you see this play? 100% yes. Should you figure out what's going to happen before you go? Absolutely. I recommend number one, listening to the soundtrack before you go, because that right there is your story. It's going to take you through the entire play. Without it, you're going to be drowning just like me. Maybe kind of read up a little bit on the last few days of Christ to kind of help you through who is who and what's going on. And I think you guys are going to have a great time. But guys, that's the ending of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, please give me the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to Chemo365, please do. And remember, I'll catch you guys later.